Hello everyone, it's Kavita from Red Door Yoga. Thank you for joining me online for the Red Door Yoga Mini Sutra series. Today I wanted to talk to you about building in a pause. So recently I had one of my students, we were chatting together on one of our private sessions, and she was talking to me about the fact that her mind is always racing. She says, I'm in an experience right now and it's already thinking about, what it has to do after now, and what it has to do after that. And so she says, it's not at all unusual that I have an experience and then a while later I'm thinking back to the experience and I think, I wish I'd done that, or I wish I'd thought to ask this, or whatever it is. But she said it's happening a lot of the time simply because I'm not present while this thing is happening. And so I feel like, now I'm thinking about what went then, because my mind is always racing forward. And what I suggested to this particular student is that she build in a pause. Now, here's the thing. I have experienced with my own self what this student is talking about. I've got this to do, so I'm doing this right now, and my mind also thinks, and as soon as I'm done this, I'm going to go do that, as opposed to just being here. And to build in this pause, I gave her a story about an ex-boyfriend of mine. His dad went to boarding school. And because he went to boarding school, you learn to eat quickly or you might not get food. So he ate very, very quickly. But he became an eye surgeon, and so being a doctor, he was aware that this was not a healthy thing. He was also aware that he was quite a gentleman, and he was also aware that that was not necessarily very kind. It could be seen as rude to those that you were at a table with if you finished, long before them, before they, were even a quarter way through their meal. So when I met him, my boyfriend's ex-boyfriend's father, when I met him, I noted something about him. When we'd sit down to eat a meal, he'd pick up his knife and fork, he would cut one bite, put that bite in his mouth, and he would put his knife and fork down. He would clasp in his hands, and he would chew. And he would swallow. Then he'd pick up his knife and fork again, and he'd cut another piece, put it in his mouth, he'd chew, then he'd swallow, and then he'd pick up his knife and fork again because he had put it down in between. And he went about eating this way because it slowed him down. It was healthier for him, and it was more respectful of those around him. Now, I'm sure when he first started doing this probably felt very awkward. But as he continued doing it, it just simply became the way he ate, the way he was in a meal. Just like becoming a hurried eater had become the way he was as a result of going to boarding school. So if you have a mind that is constantly racing on to the next thing, this is like going to boarding school. You have simply trained your mind into this. So just like this particular person, my ex-boyfriend's father, had trained himself now to take one bite, place his utensils down, chew, and then swallow, and do it again in order to change his eating behavior. We can do the same thing with the mind. So one of the things I suggested to the student is that once she was finished an activity, instead of immediately getting up and going to the next activity, she was to simply sit, clasp her hands, and breathe. Do it for 5 minutes. Don't even go off to the washroom or do anything like that. 5 minutes is to do nothing. Simply sit and breathe for 5 minutes. Nothing gets done. After 5 minutes, she can go to the washroom. She can go do what she needs to do, the next thing that needs to be done. And then after she's done that, she sits for 5 minutes and breathes. Building in these pauses help to pull the mind back, pull it back into a sattvic place, pull it back into a place where it's no longer racing forward. It is here, it is present, it is now. Nothing to accomplish, nothing to reach for. And again, it may feel artificial at the beginning, until it simply becomes part of who you are. Now, this pause, by the way, can be built in the middle of an experience as well if you'd like. If you're noticing that your mind is starting to race while you're in an experience, pause. Stop doing whatever it is that you're doing. If you're in a meeting, excuse yourself. Go and find a place to sit, even if it's in the washroom. 5 minutes. Breathe and do nothing. Then go back to your meeting. Go back to whatever it is that you're doing. I hope this was helpful, everyone. If you've got thoughts, questions, please do put it down in the comment section. I will be reading them. Okay? If you would like to share this with others, please do. We're always thrilled when you do. Okay, so you can like the video, share the video with others online. If you're on YouTube, please subscribe to the channel so that you'll get a little announcement to let you know whenever we've put up a new video. Okay, we look forward to being here again with you all next week. Until then, have a lovely rest of your week. Namaste.